September 18th, New York City wakes up like any other morning. Cars move through the streets, coffee is poured in office towers, news screens flicker quietly, but inside the United Nations headquarters, something unprecedented is happening. The world seems unaware that history is quietly pivoting in ways no one has ever imagined. Behind closed doors, representatives from nearly every country on Earth cast their votes. One by one, lights on the voting board turn green. Some diplomats avoid eye contact. Others stare straight ahead, fully aware that history is unfolding right in front of them. Murmurs fade to silence as the final ballots are counted. For the first time in history, the United Nations has declared war on one of its own founding members. The target is the United States of America. But let's change one thing. This isn't a symbolic vote or a political gesture. This time, the declaration comes with real intent. Military backing, coordinated pressure, quiet agreements already formed long before the vote. The combined will of the world is now aimed at a single nation. The implications are enormous, unprecedented, and terrifying. So what actually happens when almost every country on Earth turns against the most powerful military ever built? Does the United States finally meet its match? Or does the idea of a global army collapse the moment theory meets reality? On paper, the numbers look overwhelming. The United Nations represents more than 190 countries, billions of people, millions of soldiers, thousands of aircraft, ships, tanks, and missiles spread across every continent. NATO forces, Asian powers, Middle Eastern militaries, African brigades, South American navies. By raw manpower alone, this would be the largest coalition in human history. Every corner of the planet would be mobilized. Satellite images alone would make it obvious. The world was preparing for war, but wars aren't fought on paper. The United Nations does not have a standing army. It has peacekeepers, temporary coalitions, and national forces that answer to their own governments. There is no single chain of command, no shared doctrine, no unified logistics system, different languages, different equipment, different rules of engagement. Coordination would be a nightmare under pressure. Simple miscommunication could derail entire operations. Even the most experienced generals would struggle to maintain control. To fight the United States, this coalition would need months just to agree on targets, coordinate command structures, move forces across oceans, and build supply lines that actually work together. Every delay would magnify the complexity. Meanwhile, America's military machine is already in motion. Long before the vote becomes public, American intelligence already knows. Satellites detect unusual troop movements. Cyber units notice subtle changes in global military networks. Naval sensors track ships leaving ports. Every action, no matter how secret, leaves a trace. There is no element of surprise. Within hours, U.S. bases around the world go on full alert. Carrier strike groups, repositioned strategic bombers are fueled and dispersed. Cyber command goes active. Missile defenses are raised. The country doesn't panic. It prepares. Every decision is calculated. Every deployment precise. The war doesn't begin with explosions. It begins with silence. American cyber units strike first, hitting military communication networks across the coalition. Logistics databases go offline. Satellite links fail. Command systems stop updating. Orders are delayed, scrambled, or never arrive at all. Entire units don't know who they're taking orders from. Panic bubbles quietly under the surface of a coalition that expected dominance. Then the sky becomes contested. The coalition has thousands of aircraft. The United States controls the air. Stealth fighters appear without warning, strike, and vanish before radar operators fully understand what happened. Air bases across multiple countries are hit with precision. Runways are cratered. Fuel depots burn. Aircraft that never even take off are destroyed where they sit. The chaos is surgical, invisible, and terrifying. Without air superiority, modern armies slow down. Coordination breaks. Confidence drops. Supply chains stall. Plans crumble. Any real attack on the United States would require crossing an ocean, and that is where the plan falls apart completely. The U.S. Navy dominates the seas with nuclear submarines that are nearly impossible to detect. Carrier groups protected by layers of missiles and aircraft, and long-range weapons capable of destroying ships from hundreds of kilometers away. Coalition fleets don't find the enemy. They simply disappear from radar. Explosions come from below the waterline. Convoys turn back, scatter, or sink. No invasion force ever reaches American shores, but the world doesn't give up easily. The strategy shifts. Instead of invasion, the coalition turns to indirect pressure. Economic warfare intensifies. Trade shutdowns spread. Cyber attacks hit civilian infrastructure. Space assets are targeted. Proxy conflicts flare up around the globe. The goal is no longer conquest. It's exhaustion. And this is where the United States feels the strain. America is powerful, but it is deeply connected to the world. It relies on global trade, overseas supply chains, rare materials, and international markets. Ports slow down, prices rise. Cyber attacks disrupt systems that civilians depend on every day. Inflation climbs. Markets wobble. Anxiety grows. The war isn't devastating, but it's uncomfortable, and that matters. Months pass, there is no decisive battle, no surrender, just constant tension, economic pain, and global instability. Smaller nations begin to suffer first. Markets panic. Food shortages appear. Energy prices spike. Anxiety spreads across continents. Nations turn inward, blaming each other. The coalition begins to fracture as the cost of continuation becomes unbearable. Behind the scenes, quiet talks begin. Not because America is beaten, not because the coalition is winning, but because the cost is unbearable for everyone. Negotiations happen behind closed doors, quietly reversing the narrative. Sanctions ease, cyber attacks slow. Forces stand down. The war ends without a treaty, without a victory parade, and without a single foreign soldier ever landing on American soil. History would later ask the question, what if the United Nations declared war on the United States? The answer is simple. Militarily, the United States survives. Economically, everyone loses. Politically, the idea of a unified global army collapses under its own weight. The world learns that power isn't just about numbers. It's about speed, coordination, technology, and the ability to fight alone when alliances fall apart. Historians would eventually call it the war that never landed, a conflict where the world discovered that uniting against a superpower is far easier than actually fighting one. So what do you think would really happen? If you enjoy exploring impossible scenarios like this, subscribe for more and tell me in the comments what we should explore next. Thanks for watching.